Thanks for joining us for NewsNation Now. I'm Nick Smith. With 6 weeks left until Election Day, it's a swing state showdown with both candidates back on the campaign trail this week. What they're doing to win over undecided voters in key battleground states, and will the two take to the stage for a second presidential debate? Plus, Hezbollah launching more than 100 rockets into northern Israel today following a deadly Israeli assault on Beirut. How Israel's leaders are responding amid fears of escalation in the region. And a manhunt in Birmingham, Alabama after multiple shooters opened fire on a busy nightlife spot, killing 4 and injuring 17. Now, police saying they believe one person was targeted.
We believe that there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person, as far as, someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed.
Coming up, where that investigation stands at this hour. Right now, we begin in the Middle East, where Hezbollah is saying it's now in an open-ended battle with Israel after launching a massive missile attack overnight. Several of those missiles breaching Israel's Iron Dome. The Israeli military saying the terror group sent more than 150 missiles, rockets, and drones deep into the country, hitting targets along the coast near the city of Haifa, including a military base. 4 people were reported injured by that attack. Hezbollah saying the barrage was retaliation for recent Israeli attacks, including the pager and walkie-talkie explosions that ripped through Lebanon last week and an Israeli airstrike in Beirut Friday that killed a top Hezbollah commander. I spoke earlier with Associated Press Middle East Bureau Chief Joseph Fetterman about the rising tensions.
Things remain very tense here. This was not your typical barrage, not only in terms of numbers, over 100 rockets, as you mentioned, but also the distance and the intensity with which it struck. Targets were hit as far away as about 20 miles south of the Lebanese border. That includes Haifa. That's Israel's 3rd largest city. About 1 million people living in and around the city were forced into shelters, dealing with air raid sirens. Schools were canceled across the region. They expect schools to be closed again for a second day tomorrow.
Joseph, with that attack in Haifa, is it one of those situations where people were alerted and knew that the attack may be coming? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is also showing no signs of backing down, saying that in order to protect itself, Israel would take whatever action is necessary. What could the response from Israel be, especially considering the device detonation attacks we saw last week?
Well, Israel has lots of plans up its sleeve. You hear lots of belligerent rhetoric coming out of the Israeli political and military leaders. Last week, Israel already moved an entire division. That's about 10,000 to 20,000 troops that had been fighting in Gaza in recent months were moved up to the Lebanese border. They are now stationed right along the Lebanese border. Israel, of course, has drones, warplanes, and so forth. So it is prepared to deliver a powerful blow to Hezbollah. Whether they actually do that, that's another question. Israeli leaders have not made a formal decision. Right now, they are talking tough, though. Even just a few hours ago, Israel's military chief says Israel is prepared to step up its attacks and has things that Hezbollah has never seen before.
Joseph, last question for you before I let you go. You've spent so much time in that area. Are we inching closer to an all-out war between Israel and Lebanon?
It does feel that we are moving closer. We're certainly closer than we were a week ago, but both sides are being careful not to let things spill over into all-out war. Hezbollah, even with this heavier fire today, is keeping those rockets confined to northern Israel. We are not seeing it take the steps that would kind of move things up to the next level. That might be an attack on Tel Aviv, which is further south. It might be an attack on civilian infrastructure, like a power plant or a gas platform. We haven't seen those type of things. And the same thing on the Israeli side. Israel has not sent in. It has those ground forces along the border, but it has not moved them in yet. It's been careful about its attacks in Beirut, things like that. So both sides could escalate further. The rhetoric is certainly heightened, but for the time being, they're still being a bit cautious before taking that next step.
Yeah, the surging violence in the Middle East coming ahead of high-level meetings at the UN General Assembly in New York this week. Leaders and diplomats from around the world will discuss critical issues, including the escalating war in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to speak, as is Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. I want to bring in foreign policy expert and human rights advocate Hillel Neuer. Last week, all of this has really just exploded, for lack of a better term, with the attention focused back on Israel. The UN adopted a non-binding resolution demanding Israel end its presence in Gaza and the occupied West Bank in 1 year. Israel has rejected it. Hillel, how much weight do those resolutions really carry when Benjamin Netanyahu has made it clear that they won't stop until they feel as though they can really protect Israel?
Well, look, the UN is about to open its annual General Assembly in a few days. This will be a catwalk for dictators. We're going to see the presidents of Turkey, Erdogan, of Islamic Republic of Iran, and other gross human rights abusers pretending to enjoy legitimacy, international legitimacy, abusing the gravitas of the United Nations. And the reality is that when they adopt resolutions that are supposed to be in the name of international law, sadly, these are exploited and actually invert international law. So the latest resolution is non-binding. It has no weight under international law. It's an expression of the fact that there is an automatic majority of dictatorships against Israel. Let's recall, in the last year, China sitting on the UN Human Rights Council. The Islamic Republic of Iran was made chair of the UN Human Rights Council Social Forum. They were made president of the Conference on Disarmament. The other members of the Human Rights Council are Qatar, Algeria, Eritrea, Cuba, the police state. So the UN, for many, has lost moral legitimacy.
Yeah, Hillel, exactly. When you mentioned, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's one of those things when we have countries that are proven enemies of Israel, how can they be part of a decision about a binding resolution? It seems to be more pro forma than anything.
Well, absolutely. Look, if you look at the UN officials, the UN created a commission of inquiry targeting Israel. They named Navi Pillay, someone who had already announced in advance that Israel is guilty in any of its wars with Hamas. She called Israel an apartheid state. Their UN has a permanent investigator on Palestine. Her name is Francesca Albanese. She's been condemned by the United States, France, and Germany for spreading anti-Semitism. She has said publicly, America is subjugated by the Jewish lobby. America is subjugated by the Jewish lobby, classical anti-Semitism. The UN named her their permanent investigator against Israel. So this is completely Orwellian justice. They're exploiting the true values of human rights that the UN was founded to uphold.
Okay, Hillel, here's the problem, though. You and I both know people want some kind of resolution, something where there's just a semblance of peace so that there's not this constant pressure and fear of drone attacks or some type of attack coming from, to Israel. What, if anything, can the UN do to help the peace process and help seal a ceasefire?
Well, the UN should begin by understanding the difference between good and evil. There was a time when the UN was founded, it was the anti-Hitler alliance. The founders of the UN were people like Eleanor Roosevelt, who understood what right and wrong meant. Today, we're seeing the opposite. You have two barbaric terrorist groups, Hamas and Hezbollah, who openly endorse sadistic atrocities against civilians. That's why they're named terrorist groups in America, in Europe, and by other countries. The UN is incapable of calling them terrorist groups. So the first thing the UN should do is to name Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist groups, to understand that they openly call for the extermination of Israel. They say it openly. They call for slaughtering Jews. This is what they're about. The UN has been doing the opposite until they can restore their basic sense of right and wrong, until they can call terrorists and name them for who they are. The UN is never going to be able to restore peace and security. Instead, we're seeing the UN elevating the Islamic regime in Iran, elevating dictatorships like China, Cuba, Russia to high positions at the UN. Look, until democracies call out this abuse, we're never going to make any advances on the international scene.
Foreign policy expert and human rights advocate Hillel Neuer, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Now a manhunt as police are searching for a gunman wanted in connection with the deadly shooting in Birmingham, Alabama's entertainment district. 4 people are dead and more than a dozen have been injured. Police say they are searching for multiple suspects who they say fired multiple rounds into a group of people. NewsNation's affiliate reporter Scott Minshall joins us live from the scene of that shooting. Scott, what can you tell us and what is the mood there on the ground?
Nick, it's a somber mood here. Birmingham police are working with federal partners, including the FBI and the ATF, to locate those responsible for last night's deadly shooting. Police Chief Scott Thurman says this is believed to be a targeted shooting, where someone was paid to kill one of the 3 people found deceased at the scene last night. Around 11 p.m., a vehicle approached a large group standing on a sidewalk of the 2000 block of Magnolia Avenue South. Multiple shooters exited the vehicle, walked towards the group, and fired over 100 shots. Police say they believe a conversion device, commonly known as a switch, was used in this shooting.
So I can assure you that us doing our job is not going to be an issue. It's the public's assistance is where it's really going to come down to at the end of the day. That's the biggest piece that will expedite this investigation. We've got men and women who will run through brick walls to vet that information and get these cases worked. That's not an issue. We just need the information.
Birmingham's Mayor Randall Woodfin demanded action from state and federal leaders this morning. The mayor asked for help from state officials to bring harsher punishments for conversion devices that turn guns into automatic weapons. This is the second mass shooting in Birmingham this summer. Mayor Woodfin says the deadly problem can be solved.
You see, we are prepared to be overly aggressive, dogmatic, if you will, and go after every shooter in the city. But as it stands, they can ride around with no permit. They can ride around with any type of gun. Again, if you want to protect your home, cool. But what are you going to do for us, the people who you say are responsible for public safety?
The Birmingham Police Department is asking anyone with information about the shooting to come forward. As of now, there is no one in custody. Nick?
Scott, thank you so much. Coming up, we'll be speaking with the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, Randall Woodfin, directly. Just 44 days until the election, and both candidates are taking their cases to voters. Vice President Harris is currently in New York City for a fundraiser. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump wrapped up a rally in North Carolina yesterday, where he attacked his rival on immigration and addressed the chances of another debate with Ms. Harris. NewsNation's Libby D is here with more.
Nick, the former president has been saying that he wasn't going to debate Vice President Harris again for over a week now. He posted on Truth Social about a week ago saying, quote, "There will be no third debate." And we heard as much yesterday. He said this during his rally.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down.
Now, Trump did participate in October debates in 2016 and 2020, and that is the debate that's being proposed. That's the date that is being proposed for this debate, October 23rd. Now, something else that Trump focused on during his remarks yesterday, immigration, of course, a major focus for this campaign. But yesterday, we got a new proposal when it comes to sanctuary cities. Listen.
As soon as I take office, we will immediately surge federal law enforcement to every city that is failing, which is a lot of them, to turn over criminal aliens, and we will hunt down, capture every single gang member, drug dealer, rapist, murderer, and migrant criminal that is being illegally harbored.
Two things Trump didn't mention yesterday, and that was Mark Robinson and, of course, that second assassination attempt. It's hard to believe that it has been just a week since that happened. That was last Sunday. And then as for Mark Robinson, Trump making no mention of him, despite him being the Trump-endorsed candidate for governor here in the state. And Mark Robinson, of course, not there yesterday. Now, as for what's next for Trump, he is going to head to Pennsylvania on Monday, where he has 2 campaign stops. And then we just learned that he will be in Savannah, Georgia on Tuesday. So a busy week ahead full of battleground state visits. Nick?
A lot to keep an eye on. Libby Dean, thank you so much. The presidential candidate's not the only one hitting the campaign trail hard. Vice President Harris's running mate, Governor Tim Walz, holding a rally in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Saturday, trying to tap into the Latino and working class vote. NewsNation's Jackie Koppel here with what his appeal to the key state may be. Jackie.
2 national polls came out showing Harris ahead. An NBC poll showing her up by 5 and a CBS poll shows her up by 4 points. Both are within the margin of error, but that is good news for Harris. In the NBC poll, her favorability also increased by 16 points, and she is seen as more mentally and physically fit as the candidate of change and leads on abortion. But former President Trump leads on issues like the economy and the border, two topics that voters often cite as top concerns. Now, despite the good polling news for Harris, one of her top advisors, Brian Fallon, posted to X saying that Harris is still the underdog in this race. And for good reason. In the past, many polls have underestimated Trump's support. So her campaign doesn't want any voters to get complacent and not show up to vote because they just think she'll win. Additionally, the polls are virtually tied in swing states. And given our electoral college system, how each state votes is what ultimately matters. Now, looking ahead to this week, she has a combination of events coming up. Today, she has a fundraiser in New York. On the official side on Monday, she's supposed to meet with the president of the United Arab Emirates. She's also planning on attending the United Nations General Assembly at the beginning of the week. And on Thursday, she's meeting with Ukraine's President Zelensky in D.C. Also later in the week, she's expected to hit the campaign trail with multiple stops. And next weekend, she'll attend fundraisers in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Meanwhile, her vice presidential pick, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, is also busy campaigning. He held a rally in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania yesterday. That location clearly a strategic choice, reaching out to both Latino and swing voters. The rally was held near Allentown, which has a sizable Latino population. It's also Hispanic Heritage Month, and two of the people who introduced Walz are well-known Latino actors. And the area also makes up part of Northampton County, one of the main swing counties with rural areas. So the campaign really trying to reach and appeal to Latino, rural, and swing voters. Now, in his remarks, Walz also contrasted Trump and Harris on issues like health care, freedom, Social Security, and, at one point, talking about gun violence. Let's take a listen.
Look, Kamala Harris made it clear. These guys want to instill fear. They want to tell you that just get over it. It's a fact of life. This is the way it is. She simply has said it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. We can't afford 4 more years of this.
Walz also noted that he and Harris are gun owners, using it as a way to say they don't want to take anyone's guns away. Now, Walz will be in New York tomorrow for fundraising, and then, of course, he has his debate against Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, on October 1st, a week from Tuesday. Back to you, Nick.
A lot to look out for. Jackie Capel, thank you so much. New data shows the number of migrants streaming into the U.S. is plummeting. How border town officials are reacting to that news. Next.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven for reducing TD. Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always 1 pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these may be life-threatening. Sleepiness is the most common side effect.
Take control by asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
Tired of sciatic nerve pain radiating down your leg and lower back? Get relief, finally, with MagnaLife Leg and Back Pain Relief Cream. Fast acting, and yes, it really works. So get living.
Available at your local retailer. Maya knows how quality care can bring out a smile. But it's been a few dog years since she was able to enjoy a smile of her own. Good thing Aspen Dental offers affordable, complete care all in one place. And new patients without insurance get $29 exams and x-rays, plus 20% off treatment plans for everyone. Loving our patients unconditionally. It's one more way Aspen Dental is in your corner.
Come and get your love.
Ah, mornings. The golden hour of cold and flu symptoms.
I'm feeling better.
Cough? Congestion?
All in one and done with Mucinex Kickstart.
Oh, hated that. Headache? Better. Fever, body pain.
Better now.
Mucinex Kickstart gives all-in-one and done relief with a morning jolt of instant cooling sensation. It's not cold and flu season, it's comeback season.
Why did we choose Safelite? We're always working on a project.
While loading up our SUV,
one extra push and crack. So we scheduled at safelight.com. We were able to track our technician and knew exactly when he'd arrive. We could keep working. Safelight came to us.
Hi, I'm Kendrick.
With the replacement we could trust. That's service the way we want it.
Schedule free mobile service now at safelight.com.
Safelight Repair, Safelight Replace.
My name is Karan and I'm from Brooklyn. I work for the City of New York as a police administrator. I oversee approximately 20 people, and my memory just has to be sharp. And I realized my memory was just changing. I did my own research, and I decided to give Prevagen a try. My memory became much sharper. I remembered more. I've been taking Prevagen for 4 years now. It's a life changer.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
This is not a drill. Subway dropped the price on all their subs. 20% off any sub, any size.
Subway did what? Any sub?
Yep. For a limited time, you get 20% off when you order in the app. Hurry and get this deal before it's gone.
NewsNation, built upon a reputation for honest, unbiased news, reporting with integrity, perspective, and experience, building a legacy of journalism you can trust. NewsNation, news for all America.
21 minutes after the hour, new numbers released by the U.S. Border Patrol this week showing the number of migrants seeking to cross illegally plummeting. Just over 58,000 migrants attempted to cross in August, less than half the number of the over 180,000 who tried to cross in August of last year. Some pointing to President Biden's June executive order limiting the number of migrants who can seek asylum as the source of the good news. But with thousands still streaming into the U.S. illegally, states are still seeking ways to stem the migrant tide. Joining us now is Ron Vitello, former director of ICE and former chief of the U.S. Border Patrol. Ron, I have to believe that even though the spigot is turned off, that drip, drip, drip is still a problem. Thousands of illegal migrants are still making their way across the border. What are you hearing from the border security community about that drip, drip?
Well, you're right. There's still a problem at our border. We're still at record territory for the year of the number of encounters that CBP has gotten. They're also at record territory for the number of people who are on the terrorist watch list, the number of people who have died trying to make that journey, record numbers of human trafficking and people being abused in the pipeline. So I'm grateful that there's less to do between the ports of entry for the frontline Border Patrol agents. But let's not forget that there's a parole program that's letting tens of thousands of people come in every month as well. And that number is almost 800,000 during the pendency of this presidency. So lots of people are still coming in illegally. And if this parole program is deemed legal, which I don't think it is, those people are coming in and they're just as illegal as those that are jumping the fence. And so still lots of people coming, still lots of work for the front line, still lots of risk at the border communities and in the destination cities all over the United States.
And Ron, a continued drain on resources.
Correct. We see what's happening in places like New York. You know, their official numbers say 180,000 illegal migrants have showed up on the doorstep of New York City, a city of 8.3 million. In contrast, Springfield, Ohio, between 15 and 20,000 in a population of less than 60,000. So those impacts, it doesn't matter where those people are from. If they were from Montana, it would have an impact in Springfield on housing, on healthcare, on schools, and as well as traffic and crime and all the other things. And so, yeah, this is a big problem across the nation because the policies at the border are just not right for safety and security.
And Ron, say what you will, but I think that it was clearly Governor Abbott who put this on the minds of so many Americans who just were not aware of the border situation in border towns until these busloads of asylum seekers showed up at their doorstep. The Biden administration is claiming the falling numbers are a result of the executive order regarding asylum seekers issued in June. Do you agree with their claim, and what else could be contributing to this drop? Do you think that the trek is just too difficult?
Well, the trek is very difficult. As I said, many people died trying to cross that border or in the pipeline on the way to it in places like the Darien Gap. But no, I have no faith in what the administration has done over this last 3.5 years. They had control levels that were at historic lows, 50-year lows in activity of illegal migration across the southwest border. When they came into office, they tore all that down. And yeah, I'm grateful for Texas for the work that they've done on the front line, helping my former colleagues in the DHS front line. And they did put this on the radar of the rest of America, if you will, because those border cities and those border towns can't take this traffic day over day over day. And so more needs to be done. We have to have policies that don't incentivize people to come here or bring their children here or die trying.
Ron Vitello, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
As Republican VP nominee J.D. Vance doubles down on his claim that Haitian migrants are eating pets in Springfield, Ohio, the Republican governor of Vance's home state, Mike DeWine, is speaking out against those claims. NewsNation's Chris CUOMO spoke with DeWine earlier this week.
So, pets, dogs, cats, eaten all over the place in Springfield. What do you say?
The mayor says there's no evidence. Chief of police says there's no evidence. City manager says there's no evidence. There's no evidence. Just no evidence of this at all.
One more beat on this and then to what really matters. What is your message to J.D. Vance and former President Trump? You support them as the Republican ticket. What is your advice to them about what to do with these allegations about eating pets in Springfield that they keep repeating?
They're very hurtful. It's very hurtful to people. It's hurtful to the people in Springfield. Hurtful to the Haitians who are working every day. I talked to some of their employees. Fran and I had them over for breakfast the other day, the employers, excuse me. And look, they said they work very hard. They're very focused. They're family oriented. It's hurtful for them very, very much. And some of them are afraid. Look, if you ask for advice, I don't usually tell people how to run a campaign. I just think that the border is a huge issue. It's a very legitimate issue. It's something where I think the Biden administration has not done well and has failed. And I think talking about that makes a lot of sense. And I think that people want to hear about that. But this whole thing about eating dogs and cats and, that's just, it's very hurtful. It's not helpful to the people in Springfield.
Well, it's not really about them, though, is it? I mean, that's the proxy effect. It is for you, right? You've been dealing with this. And instead of attacking the issue, they're doing what they believe works in this reductive politics. That's never been your game. One of the reasons I respect you. So let's talk about how you got into this situation. You do not see it as a mess. You have said repeatedly you do not see the Haitians as a bad element in Springfield. But, how did it happen that so many people got injected into a population and a society that wasn't ready for it in Ohio? Who did this? Did you do this, Gov?
Yeah, very, very good question. And just to give your listeners, your viewers, the idea, Springfield, Ohio, 58,000 people. We believe there's about 15,000 Haitians who have come in and who live there. Springfield was a great industrial city. It went down in the 70s, 80s. It has really been coming back in the last 5, 6, 7 years. We're getting companies that are looking at Springfield. They want to come in. And so what happened was, and this is directly from the employers who I talked to, Fran and I talked to the other morning, right after the pandemic, they could not find people to work. They couldn't find enough people to work. And they started looking, and there were some Haitians, and they started hiring them. They said, look, there's some cultural problems. There is certainly language problems. But what they found is that these were people who wanted to work, were very dedicated and focused, and would learn to work. They would come, they could pass a drug test, and they started hiring them. And, one of the questions I asked them, I said, well, how did the other employees get along with them? And they said, look, when they saw that they could work, it works out fine. They get along just well. My own experience in working back for our company, DeWine Seeds, when I was just a teenager, Chris, and we had all kinds of people working out in the plant. And I was out there trying to lift bags and load trucks. What I've noticed is that the workers, people I work with, it was a very meritorious thing. If they found somebody that wasn't carrying their share and lifting that bag right, they'd tell them. But if they were doing a good job, they would always speak out for them and protect them. And that's basically what these employers have said was going on with their employees. So a large number came. I think, Chris, it's a lot like we've seen with any any group of migrants, immigrants coming to a country. I think of my family. My family came to Yellow Springs during the potato famine, late 1840s. And we always figure they came, a guy by the name of Dennis DeWine. We think he came because the railroad was being built and there was jobs there. And we think there was always also a few other Irishmen there, and he followed them. This is what happens throughout the history. What's unusual about this, of course, is the large numbers. And it has, as these Haitians have contributed to society, have paid taxes, have paid Social Security, have helped these companies grow. And in fact, one of the employers said, my company wouldn't be here today if I didn't have those
yeah, I keep seeing that, Gov, and that's one of the reasons we wanted you on so much, because it can't be that the theory of the case from your party's ticket is that the migrants have made everything worse there, but in the same period that they've appeared, things have been getting better in Springfield than they were before they were there. So somebody's not telling the truth.
But look, we have to look at the whole picture. You have that many people come in.
They're going to be problems.
Some of the social services, it's great pressure on them. We got a lot of kids in school, over a relatively short period of time, a great increase.
Right.
You see primary care, a real pressure on primary care. So we are working and have been working for some time, frankly, to get more nurses in, more people to handle primary care. The Haitians aren't very good drivers. I've had Fran and I have been to Haiti many, many times. We support a school down there. Our friend, Father Tom Hagen, runs it. So we have a lot of experience in Haiti. Many Haitians don't drive cars at all. And the rules in Haiti are just fundamentally different than in Springfield, Ohio, or any place in Ohio or in the United States. So there are challenges there. So we're trying to get more drivers' education in there. So I don't want to mislead anybody and say there's not challenges.
Right.
But the other side of it is they are producing and helping the economy. You're seeing businesses start, and it's what happens when people come in who actually want to work.
Right.
And they are legal, and I think that's important for us to say. Look, I said when I was sworn in for the second time as governor, Ohio is a state that we welcome legal immigrants. Those from other countries who are legal here in this country, if they want to come and work, start a family or support their family, be part of the community, we want them to come.
You can watch CUOMO weeknights right here, 8 p.m., 7 Central on News Nation. We have breaking news we want to tell you about right now. Congressional leaders have announced an agreement just moments ago on a short-term spending bill to fund federal agencies averting a partial government shutdown. This will take them beyond the 2024 presidential election through December 20th. To secure a deal, House Speaker Mike Johnson dropped a plan to the funding with a mandate that would have encouraged states to require proof of citizenship when folks register to vote. News Nation is tracking the latest out of Birmingham, Alabama, where police are searching for suspects responsible for a shooting that left 4 dead and 17 injured.
What the biggest companies deliver is exceptional customer experience. What makes it possible is unmatched connectivity and 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business. T-Mobile connects 100,000 Delta Airlines employees, powers Tractor Supply stores nationwide with reliable 5G business internet, and helps Red Bull revolutionize coverage of live events. This is how business goes further with T-Mobile for Business.
Hi, I'm Brad Baxter, founder of Whisker and Litter Robot. 25 years ago, I inherited 2 cats and an overflowing litter box. I knew there had to be a better way. I used my background in engineering to develop a system that automates the litter box process using gravity and rotation. The result was Litter Robot, a fully automatic, self-cleaning litter box. 25 years later, we solved the litter box problem for over 1 million pet parents around the world. You'll never scoop again, and your cat will always have a clean bed of litter. Join the Whisker family and try a Litter Robot today.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsored jobs on Indeed are 2.5 times faster to first hire. Visit Indeed.com/hire. Psst, psst.
Flonase, allergies don't have to be scary. Spraying Flonase daily gives you long-lasting, non-drowsy relief. Psst, psst, Flonase, all good.
Chase really knows how to put the heart in your local community. See what I did there? Hey, Jackie. Evan, my guy. You helping him with savings, right? I wish I had somebody like Evan when I started. Somebody just got their first debit card. Ice cream on you? Ooh, tacos. I got you. Wait, hold on. Don't you owe me money? What? Your money is a part of your community, so your bank should be too, like Chase.
Knowing how to write the offer that wins the home. That's just one advantage of having the home team advantage. A team of trusted professionals working together so you can win. Meet your team now at realtor.com/hometeam.
When you live with diabetes, progress is having your coffee like you like it, without an audience. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor tracks your glucose in real time, so everyone else doesn't have to. And over time, it can help lower your A1C. Confident choices for more control of your life. This is progress. Learn more and try for free at freestylelibre.us.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Is the weight of monthly payments dragging you under? It's not your fault. It's the system designed to trap you in a cycle of debt. A system of skyrocketing gas prices, crippling interest rates, and relentless inflation, forcing you into the credit card trap. What if you could break free with just one affordable low monthly payment? Credit Associates offers a powerful solution. Our debt relief program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, saving you thousands and cutting decades off your debt. Call 1-800-586-9757. There is light at the end of the tunnel. For over 15 years, the Credit Associates team has been trusted by thousands escaping credit card debt. One call is all it takes to start your debt-free journey. Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. A few minutes could save you thousands. Even better, there are no upfront fees, just results. Beat the system. Call Credit Associates and discover how much you could save. 1-800-586-9757. Live better, debt-free.
Welcome back, 37 minutes after the hour. America, plagued by gun violence again overnight. Police are still searching for multiple gunmen wanted in connection with a deadly shooting in Birmingham, Alabama's entertainment district. 4 people are dead and more than a dozen have been injured. Police say this was a targeted shooting where the suspects were fired multiple rounds, potentially with an automatic weapon, into a group of people. This morning, local police confirmed they're working with the FBI and the ATF to search for those responsible, and what they need is help from the public. Police say they believe a conversion device, commonly known as a switch, was used in this shooting.
Really, it just comes down to some time, information from the public, and us just doing our job. So I can assure you that us doing our job is not going to be an issue. It's the public's assistance is where it's really going to come down to at the end of the day. That's the biggest piece that will expedite this investigation.
5 Points South, where the shooting occurred, is known as one of the most popular entertainment spots in the city and is less than 1 mile from the University of Alabama at Birmingham campus. Police at the scene saying the victims were just people trying to have a night out on the town.
Extremely heartbreaking that we've had this tragedy take place in the heart of Birmingham. There's no district that symbolizes what Birmingham is than 5 Points South.
Joining me now to talk more about this is Democratic Mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, Randall Woodfin. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. First, I have to ask you, how is the community doing and how are you doing?
Our community is grieving right now. We mourn the loss of 4 lives lost, or who are our community members. But even for the lives that the people that were shot, but were saved and still will be able to live, we are continuing to think about them and covering them because they today woke up to a new normal that unfortunately includes physical and emotional trauma that they have to live with. And so as we pick up the pieces, we are laser-like focused on finding these shooters, bringing these family members of the loved ones who've lost, bringing these victims who are still alive some form of justice. That is the priority, that's the focus.
Yeah, Mayor Woodfin, I have to tell you, in the interest of complete transparency, I have relatives in Shoal Creek and Meadowbrook, and the first thing I did when I heard about the shooting was to call them, because I think that most people are just not expecting something like this in a public space like you do at 5 Points there. What have you learned about exactly what happened and how things played out?
Well, this investigation is still an active, open investigation, and so there's still information pouring in. What I can tell you is that unfortunately, majority of these people that were shot were innocent and not the target. But we believe the style of weapons used, as well as possible devices on these weapons, converting semi-automatics to automatics, allowing the trigger to be pulled once and just unloading a series round of bullets in a very few seconds, is the reason why so many people are actually shot.
Mr. Mayor, I've also know that you have before, I'm familiar with you, Mr. Mayor, and I know that you have been a strong advocate about more implementation around controls around automatic weapons. Do you believe that that has a direct correlation to what played out last night?
Without a doubt. You know, I tell people America has a gun epidemic crisis. Unfortunately, in so many parts of our country, violence is prevalent. And I tell people when America gets a cold, Birmingham gets the flu. And I think in this conversation where we're in the South, there are lax or no gun laws. In a state where it's easier to get a gun than it is to buy drugs, and the lack of conflict resolution, and all these other things that I don't even have time to name on this show, all converge upon why things like this unfortunately can happen. When you add on top of that the use of assault weapons, and you add on top of that these conversion devices called Glock switches. Glock switches and automatic weapons don't belong on our domestic streets. This is not a situation where a person is guarding their home or part of a militia. We need common sense reform and allow the police to be empowered to take these type of guns off the streets before they're used, not after the fact, but before.
Mayor Woodfin, because I also heard you say that if you want the people standing behind you to actually protect the community, you need to help them do that by getting these guns off the street. Mayor Woodfin, I have less than a minute left. I know that you are dealing right now with not only trying to console those who are going through loss, but also imploring the public to tell what they know. What do you sense from the community? Are people frustrated and outraged enough where you expect those who may know something to come forward? And what are you asking?
I am pleading with our community members who know something to say something. They can call Crime Stoppers at 205-254-7777. I believe this case is more than solvable, and we owe these victims and these victim families justice. Let's get these killers and shooters off our streets. Come forward with information. Mayor Woodfin, everyone here at News Nation, we grieve for you and the community, and we hope that you're able to find and identify those responsible. Mayor Woodfin, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Sean Diddy Combs now on suicide watch inside a Brooklyn jail. What's next in the case for the disgraced music mogul?
Don't mind me. I'm just the flu. I'm quite harmless, really. And when people ask, but aren't you linked to dangerous flu complications like pneumonia, heart attack, and hospitalizations? I just say, but I'm just the flu. It's him. Who? I'm just the flu.
Demand more from your flu shot. Sanofi higher dose flu vaccines are proven to provide better flu protection than standard dose flu shots in older adults. They've even been shown to better protect against flu-related complications.
Don't get Fluzone high dose if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its components, including egg products, or after previous dose of flu vaccine. Don't get Flublock if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its components. Tell your healthcare professional if you've had severe muscle weakness after a flu shot. Fainting has occurred. People with weakened immune systems may have a lower vaccine response.
All flu shots are not the same. Ask for a Sanofi higher dose flu vaccine. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about Fluzone high dose or Flublock.
This bathroom's so musty.
Damprid's new fast-acting drop-in tab attracts and traps excess moisture, eliminating musty odors.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I saved hundreds. With the money I saved, I thought I'd get a wax figure of myself. Cool, right? Look at the craftsmanship. I mean, I even got my nostrils right. It's just nice to know, years after I'm gone, this guy will be standing the test of time. He's melting. Oh, jeez. No. Okay. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Did I read this? Did I get eggs? Where are my keys?
Don't wait while memory and thinking issues pile up. These issues may seem like normal aging, but could be due to a buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain. Amyloid can build up over time. The sooner you talk to your doctor, the more options you may have. Visit amyloid.com for additional information.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now I have Rinvoq, a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some taking Rinvoq felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days, and some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. Many saw clear or almost clear skin. Plus, many had clearer skin and less itch, even at 3 years.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers, including lymphoma and skin, heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Disrupt the itch and rash of eczema. Talk to your dermatologist about Rinvoq.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking...
about our honeymoon.
What about Africa? Safari?
Hot air balloon rides.
Swim with elephants.
Wait, can we afford a safari?
Great question. Like everything, takes a little planning.
Or put the money towards a down payment?
On a ranch?
In Montana?
With horses?
Let's take a look at those scenarios.
JP Morgan Wealth Management has advisors in Chase branches and tools like Wealth Plan to help keep you on track. When you're planning for it all, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
Disgraced media mogul Sean Diddy Combs now on a suicide watch in a Brooklyn detention center. This as he faces damning charges with the maximum sentence of life in prison. Police arresting Combs this week on charges including racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. The indictment reveals Diddy organized sex performances known as freak-offs and that during a March raid, authorities discovered drugs, AR-15s, and an excessive amount of baby oil and lubricant in his home. Diddy's new crib is a detention center where the conditions have been described as hell on earth. New York's Metropolitan Detention Center is notorious for mice, maggots, inmate violence, and power outages. Diddy is sleeping on a steel bed with a 1.5-inch mattress and no pillow. Joining me now to discuss criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Daryl Cohen. Daryl, this is nothing that is ideal, but it is what one may say is deserving of someone who has been accused of such egregious crimes.
It's not just that he's accused of it. They have so much evidence against him that it's more than an accusation. When the FBI becomes involved, they do it piece by piece by piece, and you think they've forgotten. And then the next thing you know, out of a clear blue sky, here comes an indictment. And why isn't he being given the opportunity to make bond? My view, and only my view, is there's a fear, not a fear that he'll hurt someone, but he is a man with so much money, so much power, that it wouldn't be beyond him to be able to charter a private jet, be gone, and be gone forever.
You know, Daryl, one of the things that frustrates me is when I, speak to friends offline, you often hear amongst older people of certain communities, well, why didn't they come forward before now? Can you talk to us about why sometimes victims take a while to come forward, particularly in a situation like you just described with an assailant or someone who's accused who is known to be rather powerful?
I can't tell you what happened to me. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so afraid. And it's sort of a balance between I'm embarrassed that it happened and I'm so afraid that something else may happen if I come forward. So what did it take? It took that video. It took the video to make everybody aware, and then everybody went into high gear and no regular, but high test.
Daryl, this jail has been described as horrific and disgusting. We talked about the maggots. We talked about the violence. How long could Diddy be in there? And if he is convicted, could this next prison be worse?
Well, the next prison, if he's convicted or if he enters a plea of guilty, which is a smart way to go, because if he doesn't, he's going to go to trial. And if he goes to trial, there's a very good likelihood he will be convicted. And in the federal system, if he gets life in prison, he'll leave when he's dead. In the federal system, you serve 85% of the amount of years that the sentence gives you. So there's not a parole. It's not a state situation. It's the feds. And so he has to get smart, in my view. I don't know what his lawyers are telling him. I don't know if he's running his lawyers or his lawyers are running him. But he's got a major problem, and he may very well never see the light of day again outside the prison.
And Daryl, I don't want to read too much into this, but what does it tell you that no one has come forward in his defense? You usually see someone's friend say, hey, I know him, this is not who he is, or he's innocent until he's proven guilty. I've not seen a single celebrity with whom he's worked over the decades come forward.
Now, he started here in Atlanta, and I know a lot of his former music compadres, and not one of them likes him. Not one of them thought he was a good guy. So why would they put themselves at risk for someone that's not a good guy, that is likely guilty and perhaps guilty of more than what he's charged with?
Daryl
Get
Cohen,
out of the way.
You and I both know that we will continue to talk about this because I have reason to believe that Diddy will be in that institution until his trial starts, at least. Daryl Cohen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks. Have a great evening.
We'll be right back.
If you watch cable news, you've got a lot of people who are willing to cheerlead for one side or the other side. The people we're hiring at NewsNation are personally invested in holding both sides to account, of asking the tough questions, but being fair to both sides.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven for reducing TD. Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always one pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these may be life-threatening. Sleepiness is the most common side effect.
Take control by asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
If anyone has told you that gaining weight, feeling tired, and joint issues is just a part of getting older, they are wrong. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, and I found a new way to support my health. It's called BioComplete 3. BioComplete 3 works by restoring your gut health from the inside out. This is working for everybody.
I was 270. I'm now 140. It just feels amazing.
You can try BioComplete 3 risk-free for 90 days. Go to guthealthsecret.com.
Tired of sciatic nerve pain radiating down your leg and lower back? Get relief, finally, with MagnaLife Leg and Back Pain Relief Cream. Fast acting, and yes, it really works. So get living.
Available at your local retailer. Itch, itch, scratch, must not itch.
Stop the itch sanity with Cortisone 10 for bug bites, poison ivy, and other itches. Cortisone 10 is #1 doctor recommended. It works fast and lasts for hours. Cortisone 10.
1 second, Grandma. This guy's gonna buy my car.
Okay. You need Carvana. Entering plate number. No accidents, right?
No.
Generating offer. Carvana can pick it up tomorrow.
That's an amazing offer.
Sell your car the easy way with Carvana.
With fatigue and lightheadedness, I knew something was wrong. Then I saw my doctor and found out I have AFib. And that means there's about a 5 times greater risk of stroke. Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if you have AFib, the risk of stroke is always there. If you have one or more symptoms, get checked out. Making that appointment can help you get ahead of stroke risk. This is no time to wait.
This is a story about the one who keeps it all moving. He is measured, precise. He thinks ahead, stocks the right parts, and knows just where to find them. Because for the one, this facility is about more than business. The industrial-grade products you need delivered fast. Call, click Grainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
HomeGlow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeGlow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
NewsNation is tracking the latest out of Birmingham, Alabama, where police are searching for suspects responsible for a shooting that left 4 dead and 17 injured. Plus, cartel violence surging in Mexico, while the Mexican government is blaming the United States.
What the biggest companies deliver is exceptional customer experience. What makes it possible is unmatched connectivity and 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business. T-Mobile connects 100,000 Delta Airlines employees, powers Tractor Supply stores nationwide with reliable 5G business internet, and helps Red Bull revolutionize coverage of live events. This is how business goes further with T-Mobile for Business.
If you're in pain but need to stay mobile, you need CopperFit Rapid Relief, the revolutionary line of hot and cold therapy wraps that keep you mobile while you recover, no matter where it hurts. A breakthrough adjustable design with a soft gel pack insert in a lightweight copper-infused wrap for targeted hot or cold pain-relieving therapy of sore muscles and achy joints. If it hurts, CopperFit's got you covered. Get the full line of CopperFit Rapid Relief wraps, available at Walmart pharmacies.
Chase really knows how to put the heart in your local community. See what I did there? Hey, Jackie. Evan, my guy. You helping him with savings, right? I wish I had somebody like Evan when I started. Somebody just got their first debit card. Ice cream on you? Ooh, tacos. I got you. Wait, hold on. Don't you owe me money? What? Your money is a part of your community, so your bank should be too, like Chase.
Why do some things have to be so complicated? We don't know either, Stanley. But at least when it comes to dental care, Aspen Dental makes getting new dentures and implants easier with the technology and expertise to give you the right fit. And $0 down plus 0% interest if paid in full in 18 months. Making things as simple as they should be. It's one more way Aspen Dental is in your corner.
It appears that despite my sinister efforts, employees are still managing their own HR and payroll. Why would you think mere humans deserve to do their own payroll? Because their livelihoods depend on it? Because they have bills to pay? Hear me now, Paycom. Return the world of HR and payroll to its rightful place of chaos, or face a tsunami of unnecessary, the likes of which you have never seen.
My hair was thinning all around my hairline.
My dermatologist recommended Nutrafol. It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
My hair is longer, thicker.
Nutrafol is life-changing for me.
Get growing at Nutrafol.com.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now I have Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some Rinvoq patients felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days. Some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. And many taking Rinvoq saw clear or almost clear skin.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections and blood clots, some fatal. Cancers, including lymphoma and skin. Heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Help heal your painful skin. Disrupt the itch and rash of eczema. Talk to your doctor about